from. Tell your girl she can kick it if she wants some, but we got no time to waste.
Welcome to 4AZ. I'm your host, Tyler McDowell Blanken. In this episode, we'll discuss the future of education and everything else. I'm excited to welcome back Desert View High School history teacher Kevin Paulson and middle school history teacher turned Arizona State University, Mary Lou Fulton College for Teaching and Learning Innovation career coach Trevor Knox for this conversation. Trev, welcome back. How you been?
Tired. I'm dad tired, bro. I'm dad tired.
Tell us more of that dad life.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's
happy first birthday, Miles Paulson. Milestone.
He says thank you. He says thank you. Luckily, no other obligations this summer, but he's not going to daycare, so it's just me and him all day. Obviously I already have the middle school, high school experience. This is like that early childhood. How do I plan a whole day but no, it's a blessing, man. It's awesome. Best part of my day is hanging out with him and playing. So tired but good.
I love that.
God is good.
His dad is the daycare.
All the time.
Shout out to Eddie Murphy. God is good all the time. Trev, speaking of which, how have you been, brother? What's going on? Fill us in. It's been a minute since you've been on 4AZ.
Yeah. Great to be back, Ty. Appreciate you. You're an all-star, big dog. You know that. Things have been solid where I'm at. Higher ed's going through a turning point. We'll talk about that a little bit in the landscape of America. But navigating the ever-changing career field, helping students get jobs, and just making sure mentally, physically, emotionally, I'm in the right state to help them, because Lord knows stuff's changing every day out here. So.
Mm-hmm. It's so important. And that's a great transition for us, Trev. So I reached out to you guys, not only because you're two of my best friends, but given your history backgrounds, I figured you two were the perfect people to join me for this conversation to, again, not only discuss education, but just kind of forecast how life may look in the coming years, because I believe we're on the precipice of lots of changes. I'm not sure all of those are great changes, but I want to hear what you think. So we'll go ahead and begin with education. I want us to start with AI, artificial intelligence, and technology in the classroom. I think back, fellas, when I was in high school, which was a minute ago, and gone are the days. I'll put it this way: when I was in high school, the big technology moment was us being required to submit assignments on Turnitin.com. To avoid plagiarism. Like, that was the thing. We're all just trying to fulfill our teachers' requirements. But now, transition in those many years since I was in high school, you have Google Classroom. Many districts across Arizona are 1-to-1, meaning every student has a tablet or a laptop provided by the school. Now in 2025, ChatGPT and all of the potential opportunities and concerns that come with that. So, Kev, I want to start with you. You are re-entering the classroom this fall. I guess that's breaking news, as a matter of fact. That should have like a sounder.
Maybe to the greater public, but
maybe
those in the need to know. Yeah,
real ones know. Well, to the greater public, very excited for this gentleman. Kev, you're going to be returning to the classroom, serving ninth graders, teaching social studies, doing the amazing work you do. So I would imagine this is top of mind for you. I want to start with you on this subject, AI, tech in the classroom. What are your thoughts on where we're at with this, and how do you feel about the future of where this could go, specifically for Arizona's teachers and students?
Man, it's hard to not be conflicted. You know what I mean? I'll put it this way, and I think y'all can probably relate to this. My first couple years of teaching, I was only like 9-10 years older than some of my students. And you would think that would be like a really insignificant gap, like would be able to relate on a lot of things. And in some ways we did. But I noticed real quickly into my career, like that gap was much bigger than I expected it to be. And I quickly realized technology was the reason, or it was a big contributing factor. Like, kids I was teaching were growing up in a different type of digital world that I never did at that age. You know what I mean? Like, I had an iPod shuffle with the headphones. You got to adjust every 5 minutes to make sure you can hear, the Carter 2 or Chicken and Beer from Ludacris. But anyway,
Bobby Valentino.
different
What's on my-
Probably
different podcasts for that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Slow down. Yeah.
good reference.
Just want to get to know
My
you.
point is just that like it's that gap is real, and it's hard to even sometimes put yourself in the shoes of what it's like for a kid growing up now and what that technology means to them. So I'm conflicted because it's not going anywhere, and to these kids it's the norm, so they're gonna use it. But I didn't grow up with that, so it's like a lot of times we teach in the ways we were taught, and that just doesn't work anymore in certain things. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can find those little niches where it's like, okay, I can bust out this old thing that worked for me when I was a kid. I can do these things that I would have wanted when I was that age. But sometimes those things you think would be a slam dunk or a grand slam every time, it don't connect the same. And that technology has a lot to do with it. So I'm conflicted because, like I said, it's not going anywhere. So we have to embrace it. We have to figure out how to utilize it. But it's in a lot of ways, it's not a inherently positive force. And in some ways, I don't even know that it's an inherently neutral force. You know what I mean? So we have to not only figure out how to utilize it in practical ways, but also how to educate kids about where it's coming from and what its purpose is and what it means from a human element of things, which can be really, really difficult to get through sometimes when you're fighting all the different screens.
Yeah. And Kev, to your point, right? With every like new disruptive technology, there's like this pull of like, how are we going to use it? What are we going to use it for? Right. It's like on one side, like we can connect, we can communicate, I can get in touch with you, I can get information instantly. But on the other side, I don't have to talk to anybody. I can message them. I could FaceTime them. Like, I don't know how old each of you are. I just turned 31. Birthday was yesterday.
Happy
I
birthday.
grew up in an era where, thank you,
Yes.
Kev.
Fellow Gemini. Mine's coming up next week.
It's the
Gemini
best month to be
season.
born in, Kev. Best month
Let's
to be
go.
born in.
Let's go. I knew I liked
I
you.
love these two.
Yeah.
Happy
But
belated, Trev. Yeah.
thank
Glad you had a good birthday.
Yeah. But with that, I mean, I grew up 94, so end of the 90s, best era. Playing outside, I'm going to folks' house asking to play. I'm asking for things. It's those like social skills, to your point, Kev, that I even see sometimes with college students. And you know, I'm sometimes only 8 years older than them, 7, and I still see that gap because they were born, you know, way much later than I was. So what I'm trying to say, and I mean that, is like laws and policies around this. Like, has anyone thought about laws with AI? With it, because I mean it can be inherently biased itself, right? Have we looked at the biases of information that might be feeding students and feeding people? So to your point, Kevin, just like, is it neutral, is it good, is it bad? It's kind of just there, right? Kind of just there. So
It's true.
Quick.
Oh yeah,
sorry,
Kev,
go ahead.
that's you.
Now, a quick note. If y'all ever want me to send this to you, one time I got bored and I asked ChatGPT who owns it, and that went down this super deep radical rabbit hole. And man, it was, to me, it was super interesting. It was like a 2-hour conversation between me and ChatGPT trying to figure out like what its purpose was. And anyway, fun time. You want me to email you? I copied and pasted the whole thing.
Yeah,
That sounds like the potential plot for a Black Mirror episode.
and let's also not forget too, I think we're seeing primitive versions of these technologies. This is primitive right now.
Mm-hmm.
A version we see in 2030 could be mind-blowing.
Right. Yeah. What do you speculate, dare I say, that could look like?
Wow.
Trev? Because you're right, so much has happened just within the last 5 years.
5 years.
In terms of ChatGPT, AI. What do you suspect in 2030 we're going to be speaking of professionally, personally, how we access information, how we distribute it? What say you?
Whew. Oh man. I mean, the answers can go left, right, sideways, back, right?
Are we gonna live Black Mirror? Is it gonna?
Oh man, I hope not.
We already in it.
Yeah.
Is it too late?
It's too late. We halfway through the episode.
Like, I saw that in Black Mirror, so I just think things are gonna just accelerate so fast. Yeah. Are we even gonna be able to keep up with how fast things are accelerating? I hope as humans we can, because if not, like, we can clearly see the digital age, to Kevin's point, of where it's going.
As educators, how do you both suggest that we communicate and lead students in this way. So you guys just, affirmed, I think, what we all believe, everyone listening and watching. We know this is not going away. If anything, it's just going to accelerate, as you said, Trev. So, Kevin, as someone who is leading students, particularly youngsters in ninth grade, just starting out high school, how do you lead students to navigate a world where technology is accelerating, but you don't want them to lose sight of developing those soft skills, communication, empathy, integrity,
Yeah.
and so on?
Well, I don't know that this answer I'm about to give you specifically touches on every single one of those skills that you just mentioned, but my favorite thing to do as a teacher is a thing that I call Flashback Friday. This is once a month. I tell a story from my life. Typically, it's in the age range that my students are, because most of my bad decisions were at that age in my life. So those made for the best stories. But that's the only time in my classroom that I'm super strict about absolutely no technology out. Like, I'll use my own technology, the computer, to put up a slideshow, sometimes use videos or whatnot, depending on what the story is. But that's the only time if I see a phone and I'm going to stop in the middle of the story and I'm going to wait until it's away, or I'll take it. You know what I mean? Other than that, I kind of work with it. But I say all this to say my approach is you have to create certain sacred spaces and sacred moments in that classroom where kids get to experience what that was like to not always have this device in your pocket that you can pull out at any time and escape from reality. You know what I mean? And adults, we need that too, for sure. But what I always tell kids, part of the reason for doing it is because it is a history lesson. This is the oldest form of how knowledge has been shared and information has been shared and passed down, especially in indigenous cultures throughout the world. Like, you look at the history of colonization and people's history being erased because it wasn't written down, but people had those oral traditions and still do have those oral traditions.
We're gonna talk about the possible erasure of history very, very soon, my friend.
And to me, that's
very concerned.
Practice of that. I share that with students. This is when we do Flashback Friday, and it's not just me telling stories. I always open it up for them to tell them too, and I love when they get into it. Sometimes I'll tell them ahead of time, like, here's the subject stories are going to be about. If you have something that fits. Sometimes it's just open mic freestyle, like, what's going on. But to summarize, create a human space, a sacred space that taps into what human beings have done for millennium, way before any of this technology existed, because we got this far without it. You know what I mean? We don't need it as a species to exist and to thrive and to connect and love and be, humans. So create a human space, create a sacred space in whatever way that looks like for you, because kids are going to connect with that. It's tough at first, but man, when I tell you, kids still have that spirit of wanting to be locked into a good story. And if you have the skill set, you know how to do that, it's a very human feeling.
Storytelling, I fully believe it's going to be one of those everlasting skills that is going to survive generations. The ability to tell stories, so critical, I would say, regardless of what career field you enter, but specifically in education.
And I'll say one more quick thing on that, BJ.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of other ways that other arts that this applies to. There's a certain human element of being a storyteller and telling stories that technology and computers could never recreate. They can give you all the information in the world. They can on a Drake track, they can make it sound like Tupac's rapping. But
I was just about to bring up Drake. This is why the three of us are here. Same wavelength.
There's certain human elements of any art form, and storytelling is an art form that technology can't recreate. And that's what's beautiful about the arts, is that it's inherently human.
And I think that's what that right there, Kev, might be the biggest separation between AI and humans. It's like, we know we got empathy and we can feel. You can put all the code, all the button number pushing you want into the AI or the robot. Like, there's a piece of it that it can never feel. And that's that human aspect. So tapping into that in your classroom is beautiful. That's amazing.
I appreciate it.
Amazing.
And Trev, I know you do amazing work with learners who are typically a bit to a lot older than Kev's demographic, but also I would imagine the topics of technology and just how do you, and again, you're working with folks who are entering education. I would imagine a lot of these conversations overlap with the great work you do with preparing students to, get that teaching position, to prepare for their job interviews, to talk about what does it mean to be professional in
Yeah.
this ever-changing landscape.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many students, in college still need tons of professional development, right? To Kev's point, to your point, Ty, they grew up with a cell phone in their hand. They grew up with the ability to know what's going on in India at 4 a.m. Like, I never knew that when I was 12 or when 16. I was just going to high school, going to college. So, like, information is very rapid for them. And oftentimes it's hard to literally sit and like work on yourself professionally. Like, let's have an interview, look me in the eye, let's have a stern conversation, So oftentimes it's used as a crutch, the internet, it's technology, like, oh, I'll just research it and turn it in, or I'll just type something in the chat GPT. It's like, yes, you can do that. But like, as a person, did you grow or learn from that? Or was it just a quick, easy transaction, right? So with that, when I'm working with college students, I'm literally always stressing, like, what skills and abilities do you have that you can apply right now, right? Are you great at communicating? Are you organized? Like, what do you have that you don't have to rely on technology for? Like, Tyler, you're an amazing speaker, man. You don't need a computer. You don't need anything to do that, right? Like, I'm trying to get students 18, 19, 27, sometimes even 30, 35, 40, over all ages, to see that there are elements of you that are not entrenched with technology. Yes, we can use it to enhance us, but I don't want you to put your worth or like, I can only do this via technology. Like, there are still pieces of you that can achieve and do things. I'm trying to get them to see that. And ultimately, as educators, like, technology is in our classroom. I always tell them, please learn the systems before they learn you. Once they learn you, oh man, they might start doing things, and whatever
That's
the
tough.
case may be, learn how to use it to help you in your role progress further. So that was Kev's point earlier, is like, how do we figure out how to even, there might not even be a roadmap for it yet. Someone has to create it. Someone has to think about it. Because if not, we can clearly see not only where it could go, but just the effect it can have on populations and generations to come. So
I got a quick note on that, TJ. Trev, the word you use, entrenched, perfect use of what this technology means to kids now growing up. You'll notice, as at least when you're working in that secondary education level, where there's a lot of headbutting between teachers and kids sometimes, when the adults take that route of, I'm going to try to take this phone from his kid, separating the phone from the kid is like taking a limb from these kids, how they feel, right? I got a lot of experience with this last year running in-school suspension, where that's the policy for the room, right? No phone. So it's entrenched, like you said, it's deep. You got to go deep into the psychology of these young human beings in order to dissect and separate that identity from technology.
Correct.
And it's a scary thing. This is why, when you say, are we headed towards Black Mirror? And I say, we're already there. Like, that's we got kids who think that their phone is a part of their body. Like, so it's a lot, man. It's a lot. You got to go deep, though, is the thing. Sometimes we don't have the energy to go deep with 200 kids in one day and try to make that happen. So it is tough to try to outgun the system.
And so much of that Silicon Valley mindset with technology, with social media, I know this because I've watched enough Netflix documentaries about the subject, is move fast and break stuff, which was also kind of my theme for my first year in the classroom. Bless the students I had. God was still working on me and still is, luckily. But it's move fast and break stuff. So you'll have these cool gains and this advancement, but at what cost, right? So I really love what you both said, and it leads me to want to transition into college. So Trev, we'll start with you. This is an area of your expertise, certainly. I was privileged to attend college. It's really seminal in my relationships with both of you. Kev, you and I met at U of A, right? In 2012, 13 years ago. Some are saying 13 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, man.
And then Trev, you and I met through working at ASU all these years later. So college has been just such an inflection point, such a it was just a life changer for me in terms of not just the pieces of paper that I left there with, but the knowledge I gained about myself and the world that I hold space in, the relationships, moreover, that I was able to form. Again, even all these years later, now working at a college. So, Trev, I want to start with you because I think much like K through 12, college may very likely look a lot different in the future, if not the immediate future. We know many colleges and universities are struggling with enrollment. I know we've, not to put all our business out in these streets, but we've felt the brunt of some of that at Arizona State and at our education college. So what's sort of the vibe check for you on what the importance of college will be moving forward, particularly now when, and I think this is a net positive, we know college isn't necessarily the right path for everyone. Kev, I know you have those conversations with your students at Desert View. So we know it's not necessarily the right path for everyone, but now when you can gain different certificates and find other options through a screen, how are you feeling about college and what the future of that may look like?
Yeah. So this is actually a very hot topic. I talk about this all the time with my coworkers. And we were talking.
Is it worth it? Should I pay potentially tens of thousands of dollars for this thing?
We were talking about this before we got on air, Tyler. But I mean, higher ed was already rapidly changing pre-COVID, but 2020 really put that machine in overdrive. When I say overdrive, it really kind of opened it up to show where holes could be and how things could still be done. And let me actually make that make sense, right? Students were doing college from anywhere, be on the beach in Cabo, be in their grandpa's basement. Like they were able to effectively, at first it took time, like it took some effort. But like as we got deeper into COVID in 2021, like it almost became normal. Like I'm in class online, like I'm gonna do everything online. So that right there made a branch itself. Like I don't even need to go in person anymore. I don't need to go enroll and on. Like I don't even need to go in person. I can do everything.
I can attend class via Zoom, Trev.
I can attend class at the beach. A student can hear I can attend class at the beach. They're gonna say like, "What? Like sign me up." So I think that was the first branch, Tyler. Students were like, "I can do this from anywhere. I don't have to commute. I don't have to drive. I don't got to deal with people in traffic." So that branched itself off, right? But what also branched itself off, Tyler, and this is kind of what we're dealing with today, is some students questioned if it was the right move, right? Like, is this for me? School has shut down. I'm doing things digitally. I'm not having fun anymore. I don't enjoy doing it this way. That turned some students probably off from college. I'm going to go work. I'm going to go get my certificate online. I'm going to go learn a trade, right? So that branched itself off. Students potentially grappled with the importance of college, right? And with that, me being a career coach job embedded person, I was lucky enough to see the job market in that early 2020, 2021 era. Look, it was wide open. Students could come to jobs and do their thing. Fast forward to 2025, the market's very different now. It's a lot tighter. Some students are competing for like one job and they all have the same degree. So where I'm going with that is I think students are sitting back and seeing the reflective social capital and value of my degree. If I get a secondary ed degree, Trevor, what can I do? Like I'm having these conversations every single day, and not just in the classroom. Trevor, what can I do out? Just in case I don't want to teach anymore because I don't want to be pigeonholed and stuck, whatever the case may be. So it really forced students to think critically about it, right? The remote work, being at home. And what's also interesting about it too, Tyler, and I'll pass it to Kev after this, is I'll find the article. This was something I was reading on a little bit ago. There's like a theory or whatever, or something going around that by 2040, 2045, something that like brick and mortar college buildings will be like a non-thing. Learning will be where you're at. So that grapples with another question. Why construct more college buildings? If the trend, which we're talking about, is going to accelerate, digital world's accelerating, we're going to be digitally like we are now, is there a reason to go sit in the classroom anymore? When I can maybe learn things online, learn from a mentor. COVID really forced people to think critically about their career and their direction, and it made them question it as well, probably. So.
Yeah, Trev, during the production meeting, you brought up we're thinking about, okay, what is life going to look like professionally and personally in the next 5 years? You
Yeah.
reminded me, the pandemic was 5 years ago,
Correct.
this past
And just
spring.
and
So
just look how different learning was. Even remote learning a thing before? Like, I'm really trying to
not
think
that
if
I
I ever
recall.
heard remote learning in 2018. I did. I didn't.
Absolutely not.
And
Absolutely
now
not.
it's like the thing. So
Yeah. 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 Skype still fumbled the bag. Like it was right there for you, Skype. You
it
had
was
it.
Zoom before Zoom.
You had it, and then you just let it go.
Right.
Kev, certainly we have other topics that we're going to hit within education, and then we'll get to the fun everything else part, which I'm really looking forward to your guys' thoughts on. But
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't offer you the opportunity thinking about college and what that may look like. I met you had U of A not happened. So
Right.
very curious to hear your thoughts on not only the value of your college experience, but as someone who has a child, shout out Miles, what do you think college is going to look like in the
Ooh,
far and immediate future?
man.
Man, yeah, I got a couple thoughts. My reflection of my college experience was very similar to what you shared earlier. Like, I definitely am so glad that I went. Um, my bank account is not as glad that I went, but so I got a couple thoughts, and that's one of my thoughts is like we grew up with parents who were baby boomers or some of the younger ones generation X, and the message was very clear and consistent over the course of decades of like, this is what you do to be successful. You go to college, you get your degree, you get a good job, and that's that. And then
Let's
you'll be
talk
able to
about it.
afford that. You'll be able to
Right.
afford a house and go on vacation.
Oh yeah, we're going to be outside. Yeah.
That's not the world we live in. That's
Nope.
I
not the
don't go
world they
outside.
left us.
Nope.
So it's a lot harder to convince these kids now that they should go spend
Exactly.
tens of thousands of dollars and be in all this debt and not be able to make ends meet just to get a job. I mean, I got 2 master's degrees, bro. I'm living paycheck to paycheck like everybody else. Like, it's harder to convince kids these days that that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I can't even be mad at them if they hear that and say, no, that's not for me. Which is why I love, quick plug to my school, to Desert View. I love the fact that we have a phenomenal CTE program, career and technical education program. You got
Absolutely.
kids getting certifications to get really solid jobs right out of high school.
Mhm.
And that's great. That's fantastic. I wish I would have had that experience where I went to high school. Where I went to high school is just all academics. We're going to send you to college, and that's that. You know what I mean? Get good test scores. So on the one hand, I think it's a positive thing for kids who see the trajectory and they have the wherewithal to make a lifetime decision that might not hurt them more than it's going to help them financially. However, to me, it's going to be worth it at the end of the day, given all of the experience that college brought to me. And part of this moving towards a more digital experience is tough, the idea of not going into a physical building, because there's something about being in a room with 20, 30, 40 other like-minded people who share the same passions and energy and ideas you that helps you flourish. And I mean being in a room, not being on a Zoom call. Like, it's hard to replicate that experience. You know what I mean? There's pros and there's cons. It's cool, the idea of like, I love what Trev said, the learning is where you are. That's dope. I like that concept. But at what point do we find those people who gather us together to be in community? I think what an under a through line, a theme of a lot of what we see over the trajectory of our society that has been sped up by the advancement or so-called advancement of technology is it further isolates people.
Mhm.
And that's a scary thing. That's a dangerous thing. We are wired as human beings to need community. And that means being in physical space with people. So I'm critical of what that non-physical education experience looks like.
Yeah. To jump on that too, Kev, reflect back to my college experience. I'm so glad I went in person. I'm an in-person people person. I just
Yeah.
know myself. If I had to do college online, I would have been like, I hate this. Because I just know I like Tyler knows. Like, me and Tyler link up, we see each other, bro. There's people around us feel the energy. It's
Yeah.
just something about being together with people in person. It's like it's empowering, right?
Yeah.
We know that from growing up in a different era, being around. Like, it's just, and we can just see that with students at times lacking that, right?
And the social skills. When I moved to Arizona, I learned that y'all dap up differently here. You know they do the.
It's different than Colorado.
You know they do that. I grabbed first dude. I grabbed his hand, and he looked at me like, "Why you grab my hand?" And he pulled back, and he went like this, and I was like,
Kev, you're
for our
doing the right.
listeners, Kev's doing
Kev,
the fist
you're
bump.
doing the right handshake. What you first?
I know. But on the real, that's an example of social cultural learning that does not happen when you don't interact with people in person.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I want to stick again with education, but kind of pivot here, focusing on content. So I've been blowing up both of your phones and our respective DMs with articles over the last few days that I thought were fitting for our conversation. So two things come to mind for this next subject of content and the future of what that will look like in education, and particularly in a K through 12 lens. This is coming off of the state of Oklahoma passing legislation that teachers must teach their students that President Donald Trump won the 2020 election. Just a few hours before we started recording, I shared an article with you both, which you may have already seen before I sent it to you, but it was very fitting. Shout out to the algorithm for providing this to me. Tom Horn, superintendent of public schools here in Arizona. Tom Horn he's always battling with someone, but most recently he's battling with Scottsdale Unified School District, accusing them of enforcing and teaching leftist content, leftist teaching practices. He has an issue with a Black History Month specific lesson. Again, you're welcome to Google it if you want additional context. But I think this is really appropriate for me to ask you both your thoughts on, from a content perspective, where are you guys at with the future of that? Because I would not be shocked if the state of Arizona, the place the three of us call home, follow suit, similar to in Oklahoma in the coming years, and maybe passes similar legislation around what is factual information, what is not. Kev, you brought this up earlier about the potential erasure of different people's history. This doesn't feel too far off and could potentially impact what the work the three of us do every day. What say you, Kev?
So much, man.
I hear you teach history. Both of you are stewards of this subject, which is why I'm so glad you joined me. Is this not concerning, or do you have reassurance that the powers that be will make the right decisions for kids?
It's concerning, but I have so many thoughts. I'm in my mind. I'm Jay Electronica right now. I don't know if y'all have ever listened to Jay Electronica speak a sentence. Not rap a verse, but speak a sentence. You can tell the man's mind is going in a million different places at once, and he's trying to articulate how to put it into one thing. So I'm trying
that's you right now.
I'll start here. I'll bring a few quotes into this to help make my point. Howard Zinn, historian, author of A People's History of the United States, which was a very groundbreaking text because most history texts up to that point focused on telling the history of a country through the lens of it was this leader and then this leader and then this leader and this war happened and then this war happened. And then it's a very top-down approach. And then so he had a very groundbreaking approach of telling the people's history, right? Especially the working class people's history, a bottom-up approach to history. He warned against the idea of us viewing our nation, our country's history as if it's our family's history, not to internalize a nation or a country, especially one built on slavery and genocide, as if it reflects us, as if people might be a part of it in practice of buying into it, but the history of the United States is not the history of me and my family. You know what I mean? We have to learn how to separate ourselves from that empire sort of identity. And part of that means keep teaching what you think kids need to know until somebody walks in your door and puts a mask over your face and carries you out the room. Because I'll be honest with you, when I was living in Virginia, and I feel bad right now, I forget the name of who the current governor of Virginia is, but he had just won the election at the time I was teaching. And his executive order number 1 was to ban the teaching of critical race theory in K through 12 schools. And so what did I do? The very next day, I start going even harder on things that would be considered critical race theory. Who's showing up in my classroom and taking me away? Until that happens, I'm going to teach what I think these kids need to teach, and I'm going to teach what they want to know. That's the other thing too, is opening it up to find out where kids really want to know things, and creating those. All this information means all these opportunities to go in a lot of different directions and have kids learn what they want to learn. But honestly, it's really just like with anything else. It boils down to the will of the people. In this case, when I say the people, I mean those of us in the classroom. Are you that scared of a piece of paper that says you can't teach something that you're just going to stop? Or do you have the courage to keep doing what's right and fight a fight? Those are my initial thoughts. I have a million more. That was just the
intro. Yeah, that could be its own separate
but
1 hour conversation.
Do you have the will? Do you have the courage?
Kev, I just want to give you a shout out. I want to give you a shout out too, because and Trev would love to hear your thoughts after this. I think you, whether consciously or if you just got it like that, if it's just natural for you at this point in your career, you work on getting buy-in from students, from families. So I think also what's perhaps been an aid for you in staying true to the curriculum you want to teach is you have that buy-in from kids because you invest in them, you get to know them. And likewise in your communication with parents. I think for a lot of teachers, particularly those new to the profession, they may have those concerns that you spotlighted of, oh, wow, if I teach something that is maybe considered off the script, is Tom Horn going to be knocking in my classroom, or am I going to be unemployed? I just want to give you a shout out because I think buy-in can also be really helpful if kids know you care about them. Again, if your relationship and your communication with families is consistent and is authentic, and if you have a great rapport with your administration, I think that also goes a long way in building that confidence and fidelity in your curriculum, which of course you're honoring the standards and the unit plans, but as teachers, you want to have that autonomy to bring up a poem that you think is relevant, or again, teach your students that Joe Biden won the 2020 election because that's just what happened. So
and it's interesting to say that, because this conversation is great, because I two things came to mind, right? First things first, when I remember the reason why I loved history, it was like my freshman year football coach. Of course, my football coach was my history teacher. He said something very profound to me that I'm going to remember, I still remember till this day. He was my high school football coach teaching history, right? He said, Trevor, as your history coach and as your teacher, I'm going to teach the truth, and I really don't care what people have to say. I'm here to empower students with knowledge, not to impress parents or an administration. And from that day forth, in his history class, I loved it because it connected so many dots to everything. It made me understand why money works, why people react the way they react, it took me back to this is potentially why things are the way they are. Me being a thinker, I was like, how can we change that? Just because it was that way then does not mean we have to do that now. Certain individuals, people would love to keep it that way, but things are progressive. Kev said we live in a whole different world than our parents lived in. Things have to move forward. We got to be progressive. That's what I appreciate about that. Secondly, to your point, Kevin, Tyler, we're going to be living in an information era. You're going to see an article come through. I'm going to have to verify this if this is facts. You're going to see texts come through. You're going to see, so students, teachers, us as adults, we're going to have to double, triple verify information, because as you know, Twitter and Instagram is so full of junk, stuff that's not true, not factual, has no
deepfakes, Trev, deepfake videos that even fool me sometimes.
And these students, college students, are reading this, internalizing it, taking it to the dinner table, taking it to school the next day, not having a place to vet this information, to verify it, to see if it's even factual. And unfortunately, it's creating a clash of two different people, generations, whatever the case may be. So that was the second thing, is that information is going to continue to come very quickly. This is a struggle we're going to have to think about. How do we vet that? How do we say no, we're not going to bring that in because that's not true, that's not facts, and you're not going to tell me what I'm going to tell them, right? It's as we get more, advanced, you get more complex as well. So it's how do we walk that bridge? But I loved history because it connected so many dots, and I'm still a super history nerd. I love it because it just makes me understand the way things are, why they are the way they were because of events or things or past, whatever. So that's why I fell in love with it and why I think it's so hot and scrutinized because, it has power. It's stories, good stories, bad stories. They have power. Like, wait a second, that went down. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like it's there's power in stories, powers and things like that. And I think that's why history is so important because it tells you why things are the way they are, why they happen, but it also talks about solutions. You can change that. Just because things are the way does not mean we have to continue to do it that way. And that's why I love history so much.
100%. I remember when Marana Unified School District transitioned to being one-to-one. So once all the kids and all the adults were given Chromebooks, we were required at several points during the year to teach digital citizenship lessons, which the feelings about that varied from kids to adults. But looking back on it, I think it was so critical because now, guys, and I send you some of this on Instagram, I'll see content and I worry if it's a deep fake, if it's an altered image. I know Disney is suing some AI company. I think that was one of the links I sent you guys about altering images.
That's
I wonder I wonder exactly. Trevor, I wonder if there's going to be a time where those deep fakes really trick a lot of folks. If there's a deep fake video coming from President Trump that's created or Governor Hobbs here in Arizona. I saw something recently about Future getting back together with Sierra. And I thought, wait, that doesn't sound. That's not. There's no way that's true. And then, as you both have pointed out,
remember what Rhapsody said.
Yeah, no Future in it. Yeah.
No Future.
No Future with it. So to what you guys have said, do we take that extra time to really teach others and embrace learning how to be a critical, not only communicator, but consumer of information? It was important when kids got laptops at Marana High School in 2017, when I was a newbie. I think those digital citizenship lessons are just as important now in 2025 because the advancements have been so profound.
I want to bring back to this speaks again to these dangers of not bringing people together in the same physical space, especially in a place like a college, which is probably as an institution, the most important way of bringing diverse groups of people into the same space that you see in our society. I'm trying to think of like something that brings more diversity together than a college, like I don't know, like a Lil Wayne concert or something. I don't know, but
concert.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the Carter Six? Are we a thumb up on it, or are we a thumb down? Yeah, it's pretty bad, right?
It's nothing like 1, 2, 3, nothing like that.
Okay,
but
just wait and see. If I see these two guys at the Wayne concert at the Talking Stick Resort Amphitheater, I'm gonna report back later this.
I'm gonna need some sorry for the wait, no ceiling Wayne come back.
I'm looking out for y'all. Kev, please continue. Thank you for my interjection.
This is one of those dangers of people not being brought together and not developing a lens for understanding society. There's so much information. There's so much misinformation. There's so much disinformation, which is the intentional misinformation might just be this is wrong. Disinformation, this is intentionally put out to deceive you and think something is true that it's not, right? So when you don't actually get together with people who are from different communities and learn and develop a thesis for yourself of how the world is, you're susceptible to anything. There's a really important concept that Paulo Freire writes about. Instead of reading the word, just learning from the text that's in front of you, read the world. Look around you. Use your common sense. Does what you see in the world reflect what you're reading about right now in front of you? And I don't mean when I say look at the world, I don't mean look at just the text you're reading in school. Like, what are you flipping through on your news feed? Because those algorithms are going to keep feeding you the same type of content over and over and over and over again. If you put it down and you get out into the world and you experience some different things, it might change your mind, or it might confirm things you already know, right? So it's dangerous. Again, it goes back to another theme: isolation you're isolated, you're away from isolation, separation, you're away from other people, and you're forming all these thoughts and ideas and beliefs about how the world is, but you're not actually out in that world experiencing it to see if it's true or not. That can be very dangerous.
That it can. Trev, any final thoughts before we get to my last STEM off education?
Go ahead,
And
Kev.
Kev as well. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
One other
Kev,
thing
let the man cook.
Keep flowing.
I'm sorry. One other thing I thought about.
You owe us no apology.
This lack of critical thinking does not just apply to kids.
Absolutely. Woo. Talk to me.
Here's the thing. A lot of these school districts that get this really positive reputation, which is mostly based around test scores and like behavior data, which has very deeply entrenched problematic histories. It is also a lot to do with the fact that they like the kind of teachers who are not going to fight back and speak up. They just getting warm bodies to read something out of a book. And if they're not going to read it out of the book, somebody else going to read it out of the book. So as much as it's tough that I've only ever worked in schools that have these bad reputations for the most part, although Desert View, we a B-rated school. So shout out to everything we're doing. But our community has a different reputation than that, right? And as much as that can be tough and it brings these certain stereotypes and whatnot with it, some of it's reality, some of it's not. What I love about it is that I've always worked with people who ain't afraid to speak up, who are not afraid to think for themselves. They're not just robots getting plugged into the system just to do what they're told. They have a real passion for the human being sitting in front of them.
Yeah.
And you got to have critical thinking to do that. Anybody can just read what's been given to them and say, I'm a teacher. You might be a teacher, but you're not an educator. You're not educating people. They're not going to remember you.
Kev, it's almost like they want us to just plug in and give information and unplug. It's almost like they're like systematically trying to set that up in the world. Maybe I'm just crazy, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah, man.
That's it. That takes the joy out of teaching. I think why a lot of us want to pursue the work is, not only to have that impact, but to teach in your own unique way. Again, you have these standards, not totally the wild, wild west out here in the desert. You have these standards, you have these unit plans, you are assigned a mentor teacher, but you can also put your own flavor on the content. And there's a trust from the community at large and those in power in the state, at the state level, that you are going to do what's right for kids and for families. Before we leave this topic, I know we're running short on time specifically for the education section. Maybe we'll revisit this. Maybe this will be an annual tradition, dare I say. We shall see. But collaboration amongst teachers, I think, is really important. Trev, you and I know at ASU, there's this really cool next education workforce model that is helping to implement team teaching across Arizona and beyond. I think there's a lot of great work, with that venture to make teaching the practice feel, Kev, your word, less isolating. I texted both of you guys this. I also need movement on this initiative that I'm going to start. No more rows in schools. Why do we still have rows of desks? Yeah. That feels so archaic. No shade, Sunny Slope High School. I'm very excited to join you this fall. I just feel like at Marana High School, I was spoiled when we transitioned. This is either my second or third year. We transitioned to Learnature, which is a fancy way of saying we got some really nice group desks, some really nice seats. There were even like circular seats that could move. And I was amazed at, wow, whoever gave Marana that grant, shout out to them, because it made the learning environment so much more vibrant than just the traditional rows of desks. And I have to look at the back of, Melissa or Mike's head every day, and they have to look at mine. And I just think there has to be a time in which we can transition to not just the same way we've been doing things for decades and decades, which again, Kevin and Trev, is maybe to your point about even content wise, because we don't necessarily have control over the physical space always in our class in terms of the desks, but content wise, we're not just going to run back what we did 10 years ago. We have to adapt with the times and make this a meaningful experience for kids. That was my rows of desks rant. Thank you both very much.
Yeah, no, just to jump in real quick about desks. One reason why I like
why do we still have that?
I like the collaboration desks, the look at each other desk. Forces students to understand in life, you're gonna have to look at people and work together.
Exactly.
Unless you're like you can sit in your room and trade stocks all day, which I want to do one day. You can by yourself, right? But most of life, you're gonna have to look people in the eye and work together.
Yeah.
Sitting staring at someone's back of the head and passing the papers back. Remember that? Pass one, take one, pass it back.
Of course I do.
Like in life, it's gonna be pass it around. Let's collaborate and think of a plan together. It's not like, oh, here's. So I think it forces students to be uncomfortable. Like you're gonna look at each other. You're gonna talk about this group project. Yes, you are. You're gonna turn it in. You're gonna do well. Because when you're 18 and 19, applying for a job and having to look someone in the eye, mom, dad won't be there to help you look them in the eye. You're gonna have to collaborate, open your mouth, communicate. So it's teaching students like real world skills, real applicable skills now in 6th grade, 7th, in high school. And I know each of you will continue to press that and do that in each of your respective rooms.
Well, thank you for the affirmation, Trev. If Tom Horn is listening or watching this podcast, hit me up, Tom. The DMs are open. I want to talk about
how Tom. I got some words for you.
Yeah. Hey, we can bring some systematic change, Tom. Let us know.
Let's just pivot off of Rose, please. I'm very passionate about this. Okay, guys, the everything else portion that we promised our audience of this episode, I just want to run some quick ideas by you. So again, future of education, but now that future of everything else. First topic that's on my mind, connection. And I've confided in both of you about this.
Yeah. You certainly
I want to talk about dating apps. So Facebook has this dating feature. And my understanding is I never signed up for it. It just became an option on my Facebook app. And occasionally I'll look at it as a single 30-something with the podcast, right? It's tempting. And I've shared with you guys, the algorithm just matches me with non-matches. And so my thought is there has to be a better way to do this. And I can't be alone, not only in my crusade against rows of desks, but also just trying to find my soulmate, whoever they are out there. And I found this interesting. I was listening to an interview recently with the founder of one of these dating apps. I think it was Bumble, if I'm not mistaken. It was a New York Times app, so it was legitimate news. And enrollment, if you will, or downloads for dating apps have been on a steep decline in recent years. So that made me want to ask you guys about, and you both have amazing partners. So this could just be a me thing, and you're giving me a platform to vent to you, which I appreciate. But I think there's something to be said, not only just about algorithms and dating apps and how we connect with people, but what is the future of friendships, of relationships, of meeting new folks. The three of us are all in our 30s, and my understanding is the older you get, potentially the more difficult it can be to meet new people. If you're not meeting people at the work, whether it's a new homie or a potential partner, how do you meet folks? So just curious if you guys have any thoughts on the future of connection, and if you have any advice for me on what to do about these dating apps and algorithms, because I'm all ears.
Kev, go ahead.
Either of you can start, because you are in committed, amazing relationships, and I totally adore you and your partner.
I brought up storytelling earlier. I got to start with a story. So 2022 was the first time I ever got on any dating app. Prior to that, I had been in a relationship almost my whole 20s, so I never had a need for one, right? And Facebook dating was also the first one that I tried. Would not recommend. 0 stars. It is the Walmart of dating apps. You only go there if all the other stores are closed, or if they just the one thing that only Walmart sells. Anyway, regardless, Facebook dating did not go well. And part of the reason it didn't go well is because I didn't even know how the concept worked. I didn't know that if you swipe in a certain direction, that it's matching you with somebody, or saying you don't want to match with somebody. I thought, this sounds bad. It sounds dehumanizing, because they are, in some ways, the apps are kind of inherently dehumanizing. But I felt like I was flipping through a menu, right? And so I kept flipping in the same direction, and I'm getting all these women start direct messaging me who, like you said, I would never have matched with in real life. And I'm like, what's going on? And I realized it's because of the direction in which I'm swiping these profiles. So that's how unfamiliar with apps I was to start. Fast forward a year later from that, I was living in Virginia at the time. I fly back to Arizona for a wedding, and the night one night before the wedding, they had a get together at a bar here in Tucson, and I'm with a group of people there for the wedding. We're driving over to the bar, and I'm newly single at the time, and I'm excited. I literally told everybody in the car in the Uber, I said, I'm in these streets tonight. I'm in these streets. I'm available.
Kev was outside. I can confirm. I remember this
That
time
was
well.
that was the vibe that night.
Yeah.
And it turns out that's the night I met my wife, right? And it came organically. It wasn't through a dating app. We happened to have a mutual friend. We were both going to the same wedding, and there was an open chair next to her. I asked her if I could sit there. Everybody in the group was playing the game where we were guessing what song the DJ was about to play next. But bitch, by the way, she was phenomenal at. That was the first thing that drew me to her. But I guess moral of the story was there was all this time and energy and effort spent trying to figure out how to make these dating apps work or like curate my own profile. And in reality, the best thing that was out there for me came when I, first of all, wasn't looking for it. I was just living my life. And then also came when I was being my organic self and connecting in the human way away from the screen. So that's how it worked for me. I can't speak for everybody. I think I just got lucky. I think the big man was looking out on that one, but it's all history from there. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, full transparency, Ty, Kev. I've never had a dating app. Full transparency. I mean, I've had IG, I've had Twitter, all that good jazz. I had Snapchat, don't have it anymore. But I'll piggyback off what Kev said. I mean, I'm obviously with Tiff. Tyler, you've met Tiff, right? Came to your grad party. Kev, were you there? Was Kevin there?
Yeah.
Kev was there. Yeah.
Yeah, Kev was there.
Of course y'all were there.
How we met in person?
So yeah, I was there too.
But there it was weird. There was an ASU table and a U of A table.
I was just a U of A table. Yeah, okay.
It was just the tension.
I was like, tension. Kev had to do that. Yeah, I was like,
the tension just exceeds basketball.
Now you got to go get another degree, Tyler, so we can have another graduation.
Yeah. Oh, this is gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
but Trev, you didn't even have to brave the dating app path because it's crazy, it's scary, it's spooky, and it's hilarious.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, this is what I was
going with. What Kev said. I mean, organically, right? I met Tiff. I used to work at a rec center, like a boys and girls club. She used to bring a youth group to the center, so I was like, oh, we both work with kids. Like, that's awesome. So to Kev's point, it was an organic, like, oh, you work with kids. I work at a rec center. You're kind of cool. I'm kind of cool. Like, let's be cool together type thing. So to Kev's point, and, I'll keep echoing this, it happens organically. And Tyler, bro, you're a rock star, dude. Keep rocking through life, man. Rock it. I mean, Thank you. I don't even have to say anything. Just keep treading and keep trailblazing.
Watch you delete the dating apps. And then the next day you're gonna find your person.
Yeah, I got a lot to think about.
And they're gonna be like an amazing podcaster with like a 2K follower. You're gonna be like, whoa, we can do
2,000 followers.
We can do something here.
We might be monetizing at that point, Trevor Knox. Okay.
I'll be clapping for you. Like I told you.
You guys are the best. Okay, 2 more quick hitters I want to get before our exit ticket. Again, the everything else portion of this conversation. Just quickly, I'm fascinated by the rise of autonomous vehicles, particularly here in Arizona. Whenever I traverse to Phoenix or even Tempe, where ASU is at, I don't see this so much in Tucson, Kev, but let me know if I'm wrong on this. Waymo, this autonomous car company, which is in many states around the U.S., but particularly here in this context of Arizona, these Waymos are everywhere. And I recall being a youngster and reading about this in various books, whether it be like a Fahrenheit 451 or other texts, kind of being predictive of what the future can look like. And although we're not total Jetsons mode yet with flying cars, we are in a time where there are several cars out here that don't have actual physical drivers. So I'm thinking about, what is the future of transportation look like? And will even, let's say, an Uber become completely obsolete, let's say by 2030? So curious if you guys have thoughts on Waymo transportation and any other sort of forms of technology that you see being on the precipice of something new, or in the case of Uber, I would say maybe becoming obsolete in the future.
Hey, I'm gonna go first because I'm gonna kill the mood, and then Trev's gonna bring it right back up for us. My feelings about this can be summarized from the photos we've seen from Los Angeles of these protesters lighting these Waymo cars on fire, because that's such a powerful symbol. There are so many ways in which technology is dehumanizing us as a people.
Yeah.
Whether that is the information that's stealing people's critical thinking, the constant algorithms, the being hit over the head, which is overwhelmed with information and mis and disinformation, but also from a labor force perspective. If you say Uber is obsolete, that's a lot of people trying to pay their bills that now got to find a new way to do it, right? So there's a lot of ways that technology is, like I said, dehumanizing people, making life harder for people. So to me, that's a powerful symbol to those protesters engaging what they're engaging in, lighting those specific cars on fire. And it also, I love when people do this as a form of protest, because it draws a line, and people, you get to see where people stand on that line. People get upset. You realize they really value property more than they value people. And if people are like, okay, I'm with that, they value people over property, right? It's very simple. So I think that's my feelings on that. Burn, baby, burn. That's how I feel.
I'll
I
jump
think
in.
Kev read Fahrenheit as well. Trev.
In this world's quest of automation and tech digital age, it's taken away from the human aspect. Like that, we're gonna automate everything to where you don't even have to do anything. You're just go outside, a car gonna be there, go to your job, come back home. It's like, where do I get to see people? I can talk, kind of stop and like smell the roses. It's this pursuit of we're gonna automate everything, so you don't even have to think. Just wake up and we're already got it all planned out. The automation piece, to Kev's point, like, is taking away the human aspect. It's turning me into a robot. I can drive myself, man. Let me go my '06 Tacoma, fill it up with some gas, turn it on, and I'm out of here. Like I've never said I want to get an EV. I need gas. Give me the gas.
I was gonna say, is this true, Trev? Do you have an 06 Tacoma?
Is another reason too. Call me a conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat. My '06 Tacoma, you can't shut that off because there's no chip in there. I can keep driving. I've seen too many movies where they can shut off your EV with like, oh, you were across the spot. Turn off his car. You can't turn off my '06 Tacoma. It's too old.
You can't take the
Can't take Tacoma. So like,
I wish I still had my grandma's '97 Corolla.
Man, keep the gas. Keep the gas. EV is it's automation. It's automation.
And I wanna bring up one point real quick. I think as a good teaching practice, I'm not gonna give my answer to this for your listeners. I'm gonna just leave a good question on the table for people to take with it and critically think how they will. All of this automation, all of this technology that has all this abilities to supposedly make our lives easier, why is it we're still working more hours than ever? Why is it we're still struggling so much when supposedly all this stuff is able to make our lives easier, that we should be laboring less, and yet we're laboring more, and these wealth gaps are growing, right? Like I said, I have my theories, I have my text to back it up, whatnot. But just for your listeners, it's something to think about. It's something to look into and ask yourself, why is that the world that we're living in?
And that's kind of the push and pull of where I'm at, Kev, is I don't know that all of these advancements are inherently nefarious or diabolical, but I worry that some of them are not going to lead to the outcomes that the three of us and others want from a human perspective, for all the reasons you guys outlined. Okay, last one before the exit ticket. I just want to throw this potential question out to you both. The three of us are in our 30s, early 30s. I want to clarify for everyone out there.
Still young.
And I think still young. Yeah. Young at heart and just young, period. I think we're reaching this stage where a lot of the cultural figures that the three of us grew up on, and in many cases grew up idolizing, are now reaching the end of their career. So, for example, as we're recording this, the NBA finals are happening. The WNBA is on and popping. So Diana Taurasi retired from the WNBA after a storied 20-year career just a few months ago. In the NBA, you have LeBron, you have KD, you have Chef Curry, who are heading to their golden years as talent. So I think there's going to be this shift of, okay, we have these seminal cultural figures from our adolescence who are now perhaps at the end of their careers. But then you have other people popping up. You can name the potential athlete who you think is going to carry that baton. I am particularly interested in one entertainment figure more than anyone, and that's Ryan Coogler. I saw Sinners earlier this year. I'm still thinking about it. It's my favorite movie of 2025 thus far. And I'm curious to see what does his future look like, because I think not only the brilliance of Sinners, but the commercial success of it has propelled him to a new level of stardom where I want to see what is this brother going to do now that he has the green light from major movie studios. He started with Fruitvale Station, him and MBJ, great film, very different than Sinners. Then you move on to Creed, which I believe you both are big fans of, like me. And then you have Black Panther. And I think with Sinners, he's reached a new level, even within the community of like, oh man, this dude is not only a great artist, but he brings people together. It is a communal experience when you consume his art. Perhaps not unlike, let's say, Kendrick Lamar, who also had a milestone year, in a similar way to Ryan Coogler. So just curious what you guys think about the future in terms of entertainment and some of these figures who the three of us grew up with. And then we blink a few times and realize, oh, wow, they either have kids who are about to be grown or they're about to retire soon. And I don't know, I guess I got to root for Victor Wembanyama now or Devin Booker and hope for the best. But Ryan Coogler is amazing, and I want your guys' thoughts on cultural figures.
Yeah, Center, 10 out of 10 movie. 10 out of 10 movie.
So good, Trev.
We talked about art and storytelling, how that's powerful.
Yeah.
You haven't
history.
You haven't seen Sinners, go see it. You'll see some art. You'll hear some music. You'll definitely get some history. Think for yourself about it. Come up with your own theories. But a great movie. But with that, I think the aspect of like film and media is going to be very big moving forward, right? With the inversion of AI can make movies, AI can make films, music videos. It's going to put not so much a pressure, but hey, Ryan Coogler, can you produce us another banger like that? Because we have all this other tech stuff that can make a movie, make a music video, but we know you can create something special, something that maybe AI or tech will never be able to create. Like, we'd love to see that. So I think it actually puts a chip on his shoulder to say, okay, Sinners was a banger. By the way, Black Panther's coming. Another one, Black Panther's coming out. I think they're putting Denzel in it. I was like, whoa, Denzel, the new Black Panther.
Denzel's popping up?
Yeah, and the new Black Panther. I think he's going to be in the new Black Panther. I'm really interested to see where Ryan does that. Great movie, like I said before. But as far as sports idols growing old, like, man, I can't believe like Bron, Chef, and all them are coming out. But like we talked about earlier, it's the youth. It's the next generation. We're doing, at least education, trying to instill the educational piece in them. But this is athletes. This is sports. It's going to change the way sports are played. It's like sports might get quicker, might get faster, more flashy. I just don't know. But the old guard of sports, the back you down, let me hit you with the fadeaway spin. Now
those driveway moves.
You'll never see another Tim Duncan.
Now I'm at the top of the key, breaking you down with a pound dribble, and I might sidestep a three, or I'm gonna blow by. The game is just gonna change. Hopefully more exciting. Hopefully more exciting football, basketball, but it'll just be played differently because the old game is gone. It's gone. Yeah.
Kev, thoughts on this one?
I'm gonna spin your question a little bit. So I think there is a overemphasis on that one special person in our society. You know what I mean? It's go check out go to Instagram, go check out Vic Mensa and his critique of the idea of Black excellence or Black capitalism is his critique.
Oh yeah, that was a banger in the Tesla. I watched that video. Everybody go watch that.
Check that out for sure. I think we put some, like, societally and then also as individuals, we put so much pressure on people to be that shining light that we take our eyes off of the masses, which is, I think, a lesson we need to unlearn, right? So I hope Ryan Coogler can keep creating these wonderful things, but if not, I appreciate what he's already done. You know what I mean? Sinners is going to be hard to top. bro.
Man.
It'd be hard to top. TJ, you were in my classroom when I was teaching hip hop and poetry at Challenger Middle School. If I would have had access to that movie and that scene, it's like I was trying to. He took the message. I tried to take a 3-week unit to try to teach these kids, and he put it into a 5-minute scene. And I was like, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Right. So the appreciation, I can't even begin to express how deeply I appreciate his art. However, to end things on a hopeful note, because I know sometimes I bring a little bit of the cynicism or that energy into the conversation. To end on a hopeful note, we're living in revolutionary times. As scary as everything is, it also means we're living in revolutionary times. And I hope what that means is that people think of the masses as they create these things, as they go work on their craft, whether that is basketball or movie making or poetry or whatever you're doing, right? I hope that you're thinking of the people at the bottom of the totem pole, and you're figuring out how what you're doing can not uplift just symbolically, but materially. We have too many like figures of like, oh, because Jay-Z made $1 billion, now I feel like I got $1 billion. No, you don't, my brother. Rent is due at the first of the month. So how are we going to think materially about uplifting more people with the things that we do? And still appreciate those that help pave the way socially, politically, culturally, and giving them their due.
All right. Well, finally, fellas, you both have been here. You know how we do it. It's time for the exit ticket. I got just one question, a one-question ticket for you both. And Kev, this is a great setup for me. So thank you for lobbing it up, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the basket now. Trev, I want to start with you, and then we'll kick it back to Kev to close us out.
Right.
On a positive note, what excites you most about this upcoming school year? Tell us something you're looking forward to professionally or personally in the immediate future.
I think I told you off air too, Tyler. It'll be 3 years for me, career coach at ASU. So that'll be a good kind of milestone for me. Professionally, what I'm most, I guess, excited about is just continue to make an impact for students. This conversation today was helpful because I'm taking this back into my office moving forward. But yeah, I think those are the two most things I'm passionate about. I'm just looking forward to helping students think critically, get them in their spot, and make the best decision for them. So I'm hoping for a great fall semester at ASU and the Teachers College, which it will be.
Let's go. Kev, what you got for us?
Professionally, I'm excited to pick students' brains and get them thinking and creating things based off of yet another revolutionary summer that we are experiencing, and see what they think, see how their minds are working and what type of world that they want to create. Personally, my favorite part of every day is coming home and playing with my son. And I think it's making me a better man. It's making me a better educator. I always felt care and love for my students, but it's another thing once you have a kid, it gives you a different perspective of like, any one of these kids could be my kid and what I want for him. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a great year of growth, I think, and living a nice, simple, but meaningful life.
Yeah. What about you, Tyler? What about you? We didn't ask you that.
Yeah.
Tyler.
Oh, man, there's a lot I'm looking forward to. I'm so grateful for all that I have in my life, for the people in my life, for this platform. I'm very excited to transition back to the classroom. So shout out to Sunny Slope. Shout out to the Vikings over on Dunlap and Central. I am very much looking forward to starting my 7th year of teaching and all that's going to come with that on a professional note. Then on a personal note, thank you guys for asking. Thank you, Trev, for lobbing this up for me. Man, I just want to continue to be more present for people in my life. And of course, whether it's text, Instagram DMs, talking through a laptop like the three of us are doing, I want to make it more of an effort to see people in person, near or far. I want to be present for people, not just with my time and my mind, but literally be present for them and celebrate them. And I'm not perfect at it, but it's something that I'm recognizing is incredibly important. Okay, now how we do. Thank you, Trev. How we do this around here is I end with the last question. So I have one more question for you both, Trevor Knox. let the people know, how can we support and connect with you? Trev, you want to go first? We got your
Oh,
Instagrams
man.
on the screen
Well,
here.
yeah.
How can we connect, Trev?
Tyler dropped the Instagram right there. I post a lot of motivation. Tyler knows this. You're going to follow my page and get some motivation, self-development.
Yes, sir.
A lot of like, you got it. I think I posted today, like focus on a goal and go be consistent at it. Right. So you'll get a lot of consistency and a lot of motivation if you follow me there. But if you are interested in higher education or want to pursue a degree in education or have questions about what you can do with your degree, education, I, as a career coach, can assist you. My email, twknox@asu.edu is my email address. Or if you just Google career coaching, Arizona State University, I'm the first one that comes up. That's how you can also find me as well. So
his face will be there. No wrinkles. No wrinkles on this video. No wrinkles on the ASU website. This
just
is
drink your water. Drink your water.
this is one hydrated, professional, fresh brother. Thank you, Trev. Appreciate you so much. Kev, remind the people, how can we connect with you and support all the great work that you are doing?
Man, unlike Trev, I don't post ever. If you see a post coming from me, it's because my better half added me as a collaborator, and it's probably
it's a Miles Stan account at this point, which we love.
It's a Miles update on life. I have not posted on social media in the longest time. But if you were listening and you connected with anything that we talked about and want to talk about it more, want more resources to learn about more of these things, whether that's books or organizations, or just want to chop it up, just send a DM, and that profile that's posted right there on the screen. I'm a simple man. You hit me up, I'm gonna hit you back.
Period. Follow Trev on Instagram at tknox20. That's 20. And then follow Kev at K_Paulson94. Guys, you know I love you both. I'm so thankful for your time. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you all for tuning in. You can follow the show at 4AZTeach and 4AZTeach.org. We'll see you next time.